it's out there. You just got to know where to find it. There's a lot of different resources, but it's hard for people to find it because they don't know what they're looking for. Like a lot of welders, when you're working in a job, you're going to be doing side work on the side, most likely. If you have a welder at home, you're going to be building handrails, or you're going to be building a fire pit, you're going to be doing anything. Those, like, they could pick up steam and become its own business. But people don't really know how to do that because they didn't go to business school. Like, I started a business and then I closed my business because I was not ready, because there's too many things I needed to keep track of. And it was just me.
Yeah, and a lot of times too, it's just knowing that other people have gone through these same challenges. Sometimes it's not avoiding them, it's just knowing that, hey, this is part of the process, right?
Welcome to Making Sparks, the podcast where we ignite your passion for metal fabrication and fuel your business success. Join industry leaders and dive deep into the world of metalworking. From business insights to tips of the trade, Making Sparks is your forge of knowledge. During each episode, discover success stories, innovative solutions, and expert interviews that light the path to business growth. Subscribe today and grow and improve your company, and let's make sparks fly together.
Welcome back to Making Sparks. I'm your host, Casey Velker, sitting here with my co-host, Matthew Nix.
What's up?
And we are doing a virtual call with Beau. I don't even know how to say your last name. Wiggington. And yep. Beau is coming to us from North Carolina, right?
Mm-hmm. Greensboro, North Carolina, right in the middle.
So, Beau, can you tell us a little bit about, you're with Weld.com, but kind of give us a background on how you kind of ended up at Weld.com and really just doing all the YouTube and content creation stuff that you're doing.
Well, it's very interesting way I got connected. I was a full-time musician for years and years. So like I lived in LA, was in a band, we toured around, had some film and TV, like pick up a couple of our songs. So then we decided we needed to go tour. So we moved to Nashville, and then we toured around a little bit, and then I started my own solo career. And then that led me to North Carolina with my wife, because we got married, brought me out here, was doing full-time music, and then the pandemic hit. And for anybody that was in the creative world, so either like musicians, actors, anybody where you have to travel, do a thing, and then go to another place and do it, it was not a good time. So everyone moved online. I did not like singing in front of a webcam, so I was like, I need to find a different skill. So I had always been interested in welding, and the college here, the community college, they were running classes because it was an essential skill. So I took an intro to welding class. I was hooked. And so then I signed up for a 1-year certificate program focusing in like heavy wall pipe. And so I went through the program, and all the way through school, I was using Weld.com. I'm a big YouTube person. So I was going on Weld.com because they had everything, like anything you wanted to learn about. Boom, you had a video where you could see up close. That's the problem a lot of people have when they go through school, is that you'll get a demo with 15 other people standing there, and maybe you can get close enough to kind of see what they're doing. But Weld.com, I could watch the video, I could rewind, I could play it in slow motion. I was a big fan. It helped me. I really excelled through school. And by the second semester, like close to this end of my second semester, Weld.com did a student and professional welding competition that was virtual. So you just had to weld out a plate and send it in and see if you placed or not. But I was really interested, and I told one of my instructors, I was like, I'm going to sign up for this competition. And he said, it's a waste of time. And I was like, what? He's like, they're not going to pick you. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to still sign up. So I signed up, and boom, they picked me. And I found out when I was on vacation because we had spring break and I was at the beach. I got an email saying, you've been selected. You have 5 days to make this video. Like, this is the day it has to be in. So I was on vacation. I was like, well, I guess I got to do it right when I get back, and went back to school that next day. I hadn't run stick that entire semester because we were on TIG plate and TIG pipe. So I had to run a 3G stick welded plate, 6010, 7018 fill. And I did it. I had one chance. My instructor was like, you can do it at the end of class, but we only have one chance. Filmed it, sent it in, and I got accepted. They were like, okay, cool. You're in the finale. And so I had to send off my plate, and they did all the testing, and I ended up taking second place. So I was pumped. I got like some new welding gear and I was ready to rock and roll. And then they reached out again and they were like, hey, we really liked you making video, like your presence on camera. Do you want to make videos for us? And I was like, yep, absolutely. Why not? So started making videos. And then soon enough, like soon after I started making videos, the person that started our podcast left. And I have a recording studio at my house from like doing music for so long. And so I was like, hey, I could take over the podcast. I already got all the equipment. So I took over the podcast. And then about a year after that, they asked me to take over the social media and manage the channel. And ever since that, I've been full-time at Weld, rocking and rolling.
This episode of Making Sparks is brought to you by Paperless Parts. Are you tired of the complexity that comes with quoting and manufacturing? Paperless Parts is here to help. As the #1 quoting and collaboration software for manufacturers, Paperless Parts simplifies every step of your quoting process in a single, centralized environment. With patented technology, their automated costing and pricing logic is tailored specifically to your shop, making it easier and faster to generate consistent quotes across your entire estimating team. Plus, Paperless Parts meets the rigorous standards of FedRAMP and CMMC, giving you confidence that your data is secure. By streamlining your workflow, Paperless Parts saves you time, boosts profitability, and helps you deliver an unbeatable customer experience. Ready to level up your shop's quoting process? Visit paperlessparts.com to learn more. Paperless Parts, quoting made simple, profitable, and powerful.
That's really cool. So how many people
It's a wild
work for Weld.com?
So right now it's me, Austin Hargett. He's the guy you'll see in most of the videos. And then we have a full-time editor, and then we have a marketing manager as well, Monica. So it's just 4 people making all the content we can.
And how does so obviously we ran into Chris last year at FabTech. What are their roles with Weld.com? Like, are they just like ambassadors for Weld.com, or what do they do?
Like to go back a little bit, like when I came into Weld.com, they had started reaching out to influencers all over the place. So like people that they saw on Instagram or TikTok that were good at making videos, they reached out to them to start making videos for the channel. Chris, he was one of those people that was making videos for us. And he's also an educational advisor, just because he's not only a great welder and a great teacher, but he's a CWI, CWE, and CWS. So like we know we have good quality information coming out. So he's like one of our advisors. We do make videos with him from time to time, but over the past year, we've kind of locked down for quality's sake. Like we wanted to really get a baseline of like, this is what a Weld.com video should look like. And then we've been implementing systems to try to make it so like, okay, now here's how you make the video we want you to make. So we just really wanted to get our quality to what it was when I loved the channel, So, but he still will make videos from the time to time whenever we're with him.
Yeah, for listeners, if you don't know who I said Chris, he was on our podcast last year at FabTech. So you go back quite a few episodes, you can hear. It was kind of funny because he won some kind of weld competition at FabTech, and he was pumped. He was cheering, and so we sent someone to go grab him, and
We just pulled him in.
And he goes, "Yeah, I'm excited because I won this weld hood, and I teach welding, and I like to get stuff for my students to give away." Like he wasn't keeping it for himself or anything. And so we were like, well, that was great. And then he introduced us to, that's how we learned about Weld.com. And obviously I know nothing about welding. So therefore I don't know anything about Weld.com. But when Matthew didn't really know much about it, I was
right. Because my formative years in welding, I went to a welding trade school as well, Beau, and Vincennes University, which is here in southwestern Indiana, but they've got a really great welding program. Been around a long, long time, and a good machine shop program. They're really good in those industrial trades. But anyways, and during my formative years, I mean, we wouldn't have really thought of going to social media. Social media didn't even exist. Yeah, I think Facebook came out maybe like that year or the year after. But yeah, I don't know if YouTube was around or not. But so therefore I'm not familiar with those things. But I would venture to say many of our young guys that we hire today probably know about Weld.com. weld.com. And if they don't, we'll make sure they do.
I was going to say, yeah, I think that's like leads to my next question is really like, if our listeners are a little bit older, which they probably are, hopefully we got some young listeners, but you never know. What is weld.com for those guys and gals that are listening that are like, well, you guys have been talking about this weld.com. What is it?
Yeah, that's a great question because weld.com is a website, like that's just a domain
The
that
.com got us.
They got it. They got it back in the like early of the .com days. Like they got weld.com. Great thing, like great domain when it comes to welding. But then they started a YouTube channel. So through the YouTube channel, they were teaching just like tutorials on like you want to weld aluminum. Here's how you do this, like anything and everything that you want to know about welding. We probably have a video on it because we have over 1,200 videos on YouTube. And then as far as outside of just our YouTube channel, I mean, we're on all the different social medias, but we have an app that we developed a couple years back where it's kind of like a super focused social media just for welders. So there's like a feed where you can scroll through and see people's work that they're posting. We have a job board that we're trying to build out, but not just with jobs from the industry. But the cool thing about ours is that if you're a welder, you can put where you're at, what you're good at, what certifications you have, and what rate you want. So if people are looking for welders, they can see if there's anyone in their area to just call up, bring them on in. Then we also have a podcast outside of our app and our YouTube channel. I've been running that, and my goal with it is when I got into the industry, I was given a pretty narrow field of what you can do as a welder. I was told you could be a structural welder, you could be a pipe welder, or you could be a manufacturer. And I thought there was way more to it than that. I was like, there's got to be way cooler things. And everybody keeps saying, we can't find people to get into the welding industry. It's like, because they think it's lame. Like they think it's those three things. They don't know you can go weld a spaceship. They don't know that you can go build a race car. They don't know that you can, like, you don't even have to be the one welding. You can use a machine to weld it for you, and do super precision stuff like orbital welding in the sanitary world. There's so much stuff that is really cool and interesting. And that's what I focus on our podcast, is showing how people get to these cool jobs or these cool parts of the industry, just because that's the big issue I see.
Yeah, I love that, Beau. Thanks for shining a light on that. That's so important. And I mean, just to add on to that, I mean, there's people welding with microscopes, doing laser welding. Of course, you mentioned robotic welding, of course, as well. But then just like structural, you talk about just structural, but no, we're building awesome bridges and monumental buildings. And I mean, it's really cool. So one of the things we've done just within our own shops, it's the exact same thing you're saying. I mean, we're just doing it on a micro level, is we actually have a structural shop. And so the folks in that shop, they were just accustomed to, I'm just making beams and columns all day long, right? I'm welding a base plate on a column, or I'm welding a clip on a beam. And so what we've done now is we actually take the whole 3D model, because when we do a building, there's an entire 3D model of that building now. And we print the model on huge paper and we hang it out on the shop right where they walk out of the break room, so that every day when they go to and from the break room, they can actually see the building they're building. We build awesome buildings. And so we've gotten a lot of great feedback from the folks on that they really love connecting. They've even told me they'll go when they're on their break and go find the piece they're making in the model, just so they can connect what they're doing with something other than I'm just welding a base plate on a column,
Well, you hit on, Beau, there's a few different ways, right? Like some people aren't getting into the industry because they think it's just those three things. And even if it was just those three things, the other flip side is that a lot of traditional, weld shop stuff, they're not promoting it in a way that makes it meaningful.
Yeah, that's, I think, the point I'm making. And I agree with you, Beau. It is more than those three things. But like to Casey's point, if it was only those three things, like we can do a hell of a lot better job of promoting those three things. Like you said, you're not just manufacturing. You might be making a race car or a spaceship or whatever. And so,
or safety platforms,
which we do that and could be considered boring, but we really focus when we're doing that about like how important that is, right? Where people's lives are dependent on that. So I think as an industry, we can and we have to do a better job promoting really how, not only how cool, but I talk about this a lot too, is how rewarding it is. Like, I think just in the trades conversation in general. I mean, not only welding. I think welding and fabricating is a amplified version of this, but just trades in general. I always say that we are missing the mark on this conversation because everyone wants to talk about you don't have student loan debt and you can make really good money, both of which are true. But what about the fact that when you get done with your work at the end of the day, you feel really good about what you did and you have this sense of fulfillment and you don't go home like stressed out and don't feel like you accomplished a damn thing all day, which comes with a lot of white collar jobs. I mean, I can relate because I've been on both sides of
You're
it.
sitting on a computer all day and you're like, what did I do?
Yeah.
When you're in a shop and you actually see, even if it's just part of the project done, you actually see it.
Well, and the thing with welding is, which you mentioned, is the artistic component of it. So it's not only is it like I get to the end of the day and I go, wow, look what I did. It's like all day long, you're doing the tedious work that's, has to look beautiful and artistic. And so, yeah, we got to do a better job of that as an industry.
Do you feel like your business has hit a plateau? Are profit margins slowly eroding over time? Perhaps you've outgrown your current structure or struggle to find the work-life balance you desire. As a fabrication or machine shop owner, navigating these concerns can be overwhelming. That's where ProFab Alliance can help. Built upon a foundation dating back to 1902, we understand the fabricator's journey because we've lived it. We're here to help you grow your business, maximize profits, and live a more balanced life. With our consulting expertise, supportive community, and franchise options, we're committed to your success. ProFab Alliance, by fabricators for fabricators. Visit profaballiance.com to learn more.
Another big thing that a lot of people don't understand about welding, and I feel like they just think it's going to be laying down a weld, that no one really talks about all the prep and fabrication that goes into it, like hand in hand. Like most times you're going to get a job. Like if I got hired on at your shop, I would not just be welding. Like it's not me just laying one weld every single day. I probably have to do a lot of prep. I probably have to do a lot of thing for myself. There's a lot more that goes into it, so it's not that boring. Like some people think they would get bored. Like I definitely get bored when I'm pad welding over and over and over and over and over again. It's not that exciting, but there's so much more into it, and I feel like we just need to do a better job of only educating people on what a welder does or what a welder fabricator does, but also show them, it's like, I think schools definitely need to start implementing that aspect if the industry side is going to expect people to do all of these things. Because most programs, you just go and you learn how to do 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G. And then if you go into pipe, you do 5 and 6G. But other than that, like that's all you're doing. You're not being like, okay, how can I lay a weld that's going to pull this back into square, So
yeah, great point.
It's intricate field. And I just think people don't think it's as exciting as cool as we do being on the other side. Because once you get in the world, you understand it. But outside, it's really confusing.
I was going to take the conversation a little bit different now. It's still talking about weld.com. Well, first off, tell everybody how many subscribers you guys have on YouTube. I think this is crazy.
We just passed, like this past June, we just passed 1 million subscribers, and I think we're up to like 1 million.
Wow!
Like
Congratulations,
20,000.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's growing. It's growing really fast.
How big do you think like the YouTube scene is for welders, like to learn and go on there? Because obviously you said you used weld.com to learn, but I'm sure there's other people out there to learn or to watch, like just people. I mean, we had a few just last week had a few welding artists on the podcast, and obviously there's a lot of them out there, influencers that are just artists that just make really cool artwork. I'm sure people are hopping on YouTube just to watch that kind of stuff. But like, I mean, what do you think about like just the social media and YouTube growth of welding for entertainment purposes, I guess?
It's been a really interesting journey. I'll say that, because welding really kind of popped off on social media maybe around like 8 or 9 years ago. Like it's pretty new. Like there wasn't a bunch of people out there showing all their welds, and it started with people just showing like really good welds. Like that was the welding content. Then we started getting reels and TikToks. Like when that world started picking up, now people are actually teaching people how to do things or showing the process behind their artwork. And then, even now, like it just keeps getting more and more and more and more and more. Like there's more people either coming on to teach or show off how they're doing stuff. That's the big shift with social media and YouTube with the trade of welding specifically, is that before, to learn things, you had to find that grizzled old guy on the job site that knew how to do everything and be his friend. You had to be nice. Now you could go on YouTube and get the same knowledge that you could only get from the old timers, as everyone likes to say. You could get that knowledge on YouTube and you can replay it. That's the big difference. Like it's a huge teaching tool. And I don't think that people really understand how much knowledge is on the internet for them to learn. Like, cause you can learn any process. Like either if we don't have a video on it, there's tons of other people like welding tips and tricks. There's WeldTube. Those are kind of like the big ones that have been around for a long time. But then as far as like artists, it's giving people a way to sell their work. It's like I went and visited Ivan Eiler, who was on the show Metal Shop Masters, which is another thing. Like there's a welding TV show. We got one, but I went and visited his shop to show like his process. Like people, they want to see the behind the scenes of stuff, and it's there. You just have to know what to look for. Just type in welding and you'll see pages and pages and pages of things, no matter what platform you're on.
Is any of those old timers, do they have their own YouTube channels yet? If
Welding
not,
tips
I have
and
an
tricks,
idea,
man.
Matthew. Just saying.
There's all kinds. Like there's one guy, IC Welds. He has a YouTube channel, and he goes out and he'll repair like a caterpillar arm and show you the process of like, okay, I got to gouge out this weld. I got to prep it up. Now I'm going to lay in each pass. Now I'm going to anneal it. Like he shows every single process, and it's such a good teaching thing. But it's just one guy with his, I don't know if he has a phone or if he's using a camera, but it's just him. Like very, very raw, but really good content.
Yeah. What are you thinking about my old man doing a YouTube channel?
I was literally thinking,
He would love him.
He would be so much fun.
He's like gruff and swears a lot.
People love it.
Like,
and he's growing on me putting a camera in his face. So, after like 8 years of putting a camera in his face.
Yeah, he would be a character for sure. People used to always, we were a little bitty mom and pop welding shop. I mean, it was me and my dad and my grandpa when I started. And people used to always say, man, they should make a reality show out of you guys, So just the characters, particularly him.
It's what happens, man. That's what a lot of the shows start as. If you look at like OCC, the Orange County Choppers, or like just shows like that where it's their family and their business and they're building these things, but then they bring cameras in and then it's a whole new life people get to see.
Yeah. So we didn't end up doing the show. We never, of course, never pursued that, and it never accidentally happened. But we did get a book deal here recently. So we have a nationally published book that's coming out December 3rd. And my hope is that it'll be at least #1 in welding on Amazon. So I think if we can dominate the charts on the welding books, that would be really cool. But anyways, yeah, it just tells the story of our family business and how we evolved from a little mom and pop welding shop to the organization we are today. So that'd be something cool.
Yeah.
Maybe at some point I could share that with your Weld.com fan club.
Absolutely. No, I mean, the thing is since I've been running the podcast, I mean, I've done over, I don't know, like around 150 episodes. So I've talked to a bunch of different types of people, and the welding business, like anytime I talk to people about welding business, people are craving advice. So like that book, I bet it'll do really well because people want to know the process of like starting their own business, because a lot of welders, they do side work.
That's what the book, by the way, the title's Forging Ahead, but the book is really, I mean, it's all based around a little mom and pop welding shop, but it doesn't do anything to teach anybody how to weld, but it teaches you how to take a small mom and pop welding shop and build it into a multi-million-dollar company and all the pitfalls along the way. And so, yeah, I agree with you, Beau. I mean, I think I said our author and I, and that's why a national publisher actually picked it up, because I mean, it's beautifully written anyways. I didn't write it. We had a professional author that wrote it. But my point is that's what they said. They were like, you know what? There's no one's telling this story. Like they called it like a middle America story, like, right? Like it's blue collar. It's just based in, there's all these stories about tech companies that
Coffee companies. Apparently coffee companies,
Coffee companies,
they have
yeah.
a lot of books about like the coffee companies. But anyway, sorry.
but none about just a little welding repair shop, right? And so to your point, Beau, I mean, I think there's a lot of great content out there now about how do you weld and how do you do this and how do you do that, but not so much on how do you take a weld shop and grow it.
That's out there. You just got to know where to find it. Like there's great resources for people like the Welding Business Owners podcast. He does a great job of like they talk strictly business. And then there's like Arc Junkies podcast. He talks to a lot of business owners about like the pitfalls people run into. And then those are two really big ones. There's the CWB. There's a lot of different resources, but it's hard for people to find it because they don't know what they're looking for. Like a lot of welders, when you're working in a job, you're going to be doing side work on the side, most likely. If you have a welder at home, you're going to be building handrails or you're going to be building a fire pit. You're going to be doing anything. But those, like, they could pick up steam and become its own business. But people don't really know how to do that because they didn't go to business school. Like I started a business and then I closed my business because I was not ready because there's too many things I needed to keep track of. And it was just me. So a lot of people out there, they want that kind of like, how do I go from point A to point B to point C and not run into all these pitfalls I'm going to hit if I'm teaching myself?
Yeah, and a lot of times too, it's just knowing that other people have gone through these same challenges. Sometimes it's not avoiding them. It's just knowing that, hey, this is part of the process, right? And I'm in good company, and we just have to work through this and get through it.
Yeah. The faith in what you're doing, just trusting in the process. That's a hard thing for people to really latch on and believe in sometimes. I feel like that's what keeps people out of going into business for themselves because they think it's overwhelming. It is overwhelming, but if you have the time and effort to just really dive in and you set yourself up with a good game plan before you start your business, there's tons of people to reach out to and ask questions when you run into those kind of like walls.
So, Beau, what is something that you're excited about with Weld.com, with whether it's the podcast, whether it's the content you guys are putting out? Is there anything that like you can tell our listeners who maybe don't know much about Weld.com that you're like, hey, this is where it's going?
This past year, we took a new direction with the channel. Like traditionally, it was like in a shop teaching here's how we do X, Y, or Z test. Last year, we decided it would be a lot cooler if we could go and travel to people's shops or jobs or facilities where they actually do this work and show people the actual work. So last year we traveled, I think we took like 9 or 10 trips this year. My bad, not last year. This year, since January, we've been on like 8 or 9 trips. And so we went to Colorado. We snowboarded down to a job site with a welder that was battery powered. We snowmobiled out to fix a snowcat in the back country. We went to a structural shop and showed kind of using a jig table. We went to Tennessee and we did like roll cage fabrication with Ian from Big Tire Garage. And showed people how to start a welding business if you don't have your own shop by using things like maker spaces. Like we're traveling all around and we're trying to show people more and more about the industry firsthand. And it was kind of a hurdle at the beginning of the year to figure everything out. But now that's a hardcore track we're on. We're going to be traveling and showing people stuff you might not get to see other than if you ever work there, So we're hoping. We can't give away like classified stuff, but every time we try and travel, we try to show as much as we can.
That's cool.
The big takeaway I think for our listeners is like to hear like obviously like there's content out there that you can be creating. Nick's obviously has been doing content for a long time, and they create content around their people and culture and stuff like that. But like even like if you're just creating content about like the actual projects you're doing, it may help you with landing customers, but if nothing else, it'll actually help you land more employees, right? Because it sounds like the welding, like the actual people that are actually doing the job, that's growing online. Like they want to see this content and stuff like that. And so if your brand can be the one providing that, obviously we don't want them not to go to weld.com. You guys got all this content, but I'm talking to the people that are listening that they're like, well, why should I create content? Well, that could be one way to help recruit people. Is like if you're the one creating that content, showing like what you guys do.
There's small shop owners from all across the country that I follow on social media that, I mean, they're way smaller businesses than we are, but I really admire them. And like, I've learned from them and follow, and they just put out great content about the work that they do. And so, I totally agree with that, Casey.
Sometimes it's entertaining and funny,
Yeah.
That's good.
Sometimes.
Well, I talked to Jason and Miranda from Chass on Smoke. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they have a really interesting story where they started building these rocket stoves and they took off like on TikTok. They blew up and started selling tons and tons and tons of them. So they've scaled their business. But he said something really, really, really valuable in that podcast of social media and content as you can get paid to market your business. If you look at it in that way, instead of thinking like, oh, I got to make content. Oh, I got to make a video. It's no, I have free marketing. I have to make my marketing content. Instead of me paying a company to market my business, I'm going to show people who's behind the business, what we do, and I'm going to share it with them. So maybe if they like it, either they can come work with us or, that's just a new contact that you have. And everybody always says, we can't find people to work for us. We can't find welders. We can't find fabricators. Look online. Look online. Make a post saying, hey, we're hiring people. And you might have people hitting you up saying, hey, would you help me with relocation? Hey, I'm about 45 minutes away. Is that a problem? You never know what's going to happen, but it's free for you to make it and it can pay you down the road.
So if it takes off, it is very much a viable thing that you could actually have another revenue source without even realizing that's what you're doing. As long as you're focusing on, I say this on everything, but as long as you're focused on bringing value in your, and entertaining is another part. That's partially valuable is people want to be entertained when they're watching this video, or educated and things like that. If you're doing that, you never know, it could take off. And if it doesn't hurt, there's time invested and stuff, but you probably need that content anyway for other things. So,
and it's just that not every post needs to be a viral post. It's like content is there to serve a purpose. All content is there to serve a purpose. Even if it is you just showing off this really fast and 100 people look at it, it's not like views, likes, all that stuff. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many followers you have. Doesn't matter how many views you get. Doesn't matter how many likes you get. It doesn't matter because it's serving a purpose for your business. And if it's not, then don't make it, and the entertainment side, that works. People like being entertained, but if you can teach somebody something they never knew, they're going to remember you for a lot longer and they're going to want more from you, so that's why we focus on, like, my main thing is trying to give people a helpful tip. Those old timer tips that you only get out in the field, those are gold when it comes to content.
I haven't given a dad joke in a while.
Yeah, it's about time.
I have a whole list of them and I found one.
I'm going to be a dad in 3 weeks.
Wow. Congratulations.
Congrats. Well,
yeah, load me up, man. I need them.
Yeah. Casey will fix you up with some dad jokes.
Yeah, I got a whole list. I got to find them real quick. I wrote a whole bunch for FabTech and we didn't do any in FabTech. So let me see what's a good one here. Did you know that garbage men don't get any actual training? Apparently, they just pick things up as they go.
Hey, that's a pretty good one.
You got me to chuckle on that one.
That's good.
You should get a slow golf clap.
I should get something. Well, Beau, this has been great. We appreciate you obviously going through our technical difficulties as we're, trying to get our internet back up and running. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for talking about weld.com. Obviously, I think it's such a awesome resource, and it's crazy how much growth you guys have had, and you guys put out a lot of content, which is also crazy for a 4-person team. Like, that's insane. So again, just appreciate it.
We don't sleep around here, man. We don't sleep. We just work. But I appreciate y'all having me on, and I definitely want to read that book, man. I know people will really dig that. So I can't wait to. Said it's December.
Well, December 3rd is when it comes out. It's on Amazon right now for pre-order, but I'll get a copy coming your way. Don't you worry.
Woo.
That's a small token of our appreciation for being on the podcast. But yeah, it's great talking to you, and best of luck to you guys in Weld.com. And maybe we can come up with something really badass someday for you guys to come out and see.
Hey, come out.
We don't have anything.
Can you snowboard to a thing?
I was going to say, we don't have anything that cool yet. So
you can come out into a field. We got lots of fields.
Have to think about something really cool.
I mean, it's really just showing people parts of the industry they might not have seen, Right, so manufacturing is still really cool. like on all scales. It's just trying to show people why. So if
Sure.
you tell us we got a project, I will figure out why it's cool. Trust me.
There you go. Awesome. Well, thanks, Beau.
How do we sign it off?
If you're not making sparks,
You're not making money.
Amen.